If you've ever felt really frustrated or stuck on a problem, whether it's a problem with your horse, maybe something like you wanted to be able to start taking him out on more trail rides, but right now he tends to get spooky as soon as you start going outside of the arena, or maybe it was a problem with your own riding. So some kind of a riding skill that you wanted to master, perhaps the sitting trot, and every time that you go out, you try to ride that trot, you try to sit, but you still just end up feeling like you're getting bounced around, and you just try the same stuff every time that you go out, but none of it seems to work. So if you've ever come up against one of these frustrating problems, I think what I'm going to tell you about in today's video will be really helpful. So I'm Callie from CRK Training. I'm at my farm here in Honeybrook, Pennsylvania, and this is one of the videos for my weekly video show. So the topic that I wanted to talk about is problem solving by breaking things down. So this is a concept that I use for myself. It's something that I use whenever I'm working with a riding student, and I also use it when I'm working with any of the horses in training here at the farm. So there's a quote that I really love, and it's actually by a mathematician, so not at all related to riding. But the quote goes something like this: if you can't solve a problem, there is an easier one that you can solve. Find it. So it's just this concept of when you run up against a problem, or when you have a goal or an aspiration to do something, if you can break that down into little steps, that's how you can really start to make progress. There's also a lot of power, and when you break something down into little steps, you create for yourself little wins along the way. And if it's for your horse, if it's a training issue, you're also creating little areas where the horse can essentially say yes, where they can get the right answer, and you can both have that that reinforcement of having some success there. And it's always easier to build on success than to try to build on repeated failures. So for the two examples that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm just going to give you some ideas of how you could break those problems down and how you can start moving forward, even in a little way, by starting at a smaller level. So for that first problem of taking a spooky horse and starting to get him out on trail rides, instead of just loading him up and heading out for a whole weekend, which might be quite an exciting time if you're having problems with a spooky horse, see if you can just start by taking him outside of the arena and maybe walking around the outside. And then maybe going into areas that are close to the barn, they're fairly safe, but you know it's going to trigger him a little bit. And then once he's okay with being in those areas, you start going a little further. Or you purposely walk him past something that you know is going to probably pique his interest, but not going to be such an overwhelming environment that he's going to be really scared, or he's going to have such a big spook that you're going to be in trouble. So ways that I do this around here is, for example, I had a horse in named Cedar who was scared of traffic. We've got a road that goes right through the middle of my farm here. So what I did is I took Cedar out, I started on the ground with her, and I had one of the help here at the barn drive their car up and down the road. So we started with Cedar pretty far from that car going, and then we slowly moved closer and closer. Once I felt safe with hailing her on the ground, I got on her back, we did the same thing, and we just kept escalating it until I could actually be trotting down the road, the car could pass us, honking its horn, and she wouldn't even care. But if we tried to do that right from the very beginning, if my goal was for her to be safe when she's riding down the road and traffic comes by, if I had tried just taking her out by the little highway that's close to the farm here, it would have been probably a really bad experience for both of us. But by breaking that problem down, she ended up being much more comfortable around cars and around traffic. So with the other example of the sitting trot, instead of just going into the trot and trying again and again to try to sit, bouncing, one of the things that happens particularly in sitting trot is when you start to bounce, the horse will raise his neck and hollow his back in order to get away from that movement. And that makes his trot even harder to sit, so it's kind of a cycle. But if you can break that down, and you can start by ideally having someone even lead the horse and just sit the trot for like 2 steps and then come back to walk. And then do 3 steps and come back to walk. And slowly build on being able to sit longer as you implement other skills to improve your position or help you find the right feeling. But you break it down so you only have to do that for 2 or 3 steps in the beginning. And as you get more comfortable and confident there, you can build on it. This idea of breaking things down is also huge for any time that you find you need a confidence boost. If you're working through something that is scary for you, see how thinly you can slice it and how you can do it in just little tiny pieces to slowly start rebuilding your confidence and having those successes. So, simple concept, but just a little reminder, if there's a problem that you've been facing, how could you break it down? So I'd love for you to leave me a comment and tell me just that. What is something that you are up against now, and what is a little tiny chunk that you could start with to working through that problem? Or if you've had some experience with this in the past, go ahead and leave a comment and share with us where you have successfully broken down a problem and then had big success in the end. So thank you so much for watching, and if you're seeing this anywhere besides crktrainingblog.com, make sure you go there. That's where I will be reading all the comments and replying to any questions.